Hi there. Good to see you all. So excited to see such a nice sized group here today. So, is it time to start? We got another minute. I won't pester you yet. All right, it's 2:50. It's great to see you all. I'm so glad you're here today. My name is Adriana Aero, and I am the supervisor for alternative dispute resolution and compliance for the special education department here at San Francisco Unified. One of the things that we've realized in the last couple of years, particularly since COVID, is that we don't necessarily have a great go-to spot for learning resources for folks who are involved in special education. So you might be a gen ed teacher who has students with IEPs in your class. You might be somebody in a classified role who's tracking data. You might be a school site administrator, or you might be a service provider, whether that's a teacher or someone from related services like a speech pathologist or an occupational therapist or some other role. So this is really a place where I'd like to solicit feedback from everyone in any role, because I want this to be available to anybody in any role who may need to brush up on some skills or have a reference for when they're not sure how to do something. So we'll probably talk for about 15 minutes. I will take notes while we're chatting. My colleague Danielle Love, I believe, is also here, and she might help me take notes if she's able to make it. Don't see her yet, but I'll introduce her when she gets here. All right, so on that note, I'm going to go ahead and get started and let you know what's going on. I guess I already told you why we're here. We're trying to build an internal SPED training page, SPED resource page. I'm also going to ask you to complete a survey, which may or may not take up a lot of time. It's up to you, really. There's some required questions, which are just quantitative responses that really help us figure out what our priorities are and what people know and don't know. And then the rest of the questions, which are not required, are more free-form, long-form questions that you might want to answer on your own. We'll have a little bit of a discussion, and then we'll close out and end our session. We only have half an hour, so there's a lot going on. One thing I wanted to talk about related to why we are here is the special education mission statement. Can you guys raise your hands, your little Zoom hands, and let me know whether or not you've heard of or seen the special education mission statement? One person. You guys know the reactions thing? Oh, I got a thumbs up. Okay, I got a thumbs up and a hand raised. 3 people have heard of this. 5, 6. Oh, we're back down to 4. Okay, well, now 50 people know about it because there are 50 of you here. So is there someone who would like to go ahead and read the SPED mission statement out loud for the team so you don't have to listen to me talk the whole time?
I can read it.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Special Education Mission Statement. The Special Education Department is committed to providing innovative and effective services resulting in positive outcomes for the lifelong success of students. In compliance with state and federal regulations, specialized academic instruction and related services are designed to meet the needs of students with a qualifying disability as outlined in each student's individualized education program or IEP.
Great, thank you so much for reading that. So what this means to me basically is that we are here to serve kids. And from my perspective and my role, part of the way we do that is by making sure that their IEPs are correct, making sure that they're getting the academics that they need and deserve, and making sure that we are following state, federal, and local policies, procedures, and laws. It sounds intimidating, but I think with the right resources and support, we can all do that really effectively. All right, so moving on. So we already talked about this. Moving on more. I'm going to go ahead and put you guys. Oh, well, actually, what time is it? All right, I'm going to put you guys in pairs for. I'm going to put you in trios for 3 minutes, and you can go ahead and introduce yourselves to each other. So I'll see you in 3 minutes. I'm just going to send you into a breakout room real quick. You're going to be best friends with whoever you're paired with by the end of this. I can tell.
Hey, Adriana, do you want to send a sign language interpreter in with Mizue wherever she goes?
Sure. Whoever the interpreter is, come just stay back for a second so that I can hear that clearly and send you to the right room.
Great, so it's going to be Joami in Germany. She's going with Mizue to room 2.
Okay.
And then the other client in the room is Amelia Wong.
Okay.
And if
So
you also
I'm
want to put her into room 2 with Mizue, that might be helpful.
I can definitely do that.
Thank you.
I have to find them first though.
I'm the only person in my breakout room. Let's see. Where
They
should I?
probably just haven't joined. Go ahead and go back.
Just a second. It says room 10. Let's see here. Yeah, it says room 10. You've been assigned to room 10, but there's nobody there
Okay. So
besides me.
I just joined
Oh.
right now. I'm
Oh,
Gloria.
is there?
And
Okay.
my other class just ended. So I just got here. I can be in your breakout room.
okay. So I actually there's a lot of bouncing around, so I'm having trouble clicking on things. Who was the interpreter that needed to be where? What's
Hi.
the name of the interpreter? I mean, hi.
Hi, this is an interpreter. My name is Jemiah, and then the other
Jemiah.
interpreter is Debbie. But it's only for 3 minutes. Is that correct?
Yeah, we might be running out of time now.
All right. It's just
Denise.
Jemiah.
Oh, there you are. Okay, Jemiah, I see you, and I just need to figure out which room to put you in.
And Denise is the other interpreter. I'm listed under interpreter.
Okay, great.
Number
to go with
2.
specific people.
What's that?
You need to go with specific people.
Yes, with Mizui.
Both of you. Okay, got it.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello? Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, as soon as I joined, it took me to a breakout room and I found the 2 people there. They don't know what they need to do.
Oh, okay. Well, we might just cancel the breakout rooms then, because this is becoming much more of a hassle than it needs to be. I can only click on one thing at a time. So I apologize. All right. I'm actually just going to go ahead and close the room. I'm sorry.
Okay, sure, no worries.
All right. Well, that was a much cuter idea in planning than in process. I apologize. It looks like folks are still coming out of the rooms. I will wait just a minute because I see some of the people who need interpretation are still in the rooms. I'm not sure why they're not coming out.
I think you can close the room so they all return.
Yep, they're closed. It looks like, okay, looks like people are out of the rooms now. Yeah, it just took longer than I have it set on my personal Zoom account. So that was a really cute idea in planning, not so much in function. So I apologize for that. Hopefully some of you were able to introduce yourselves to your colleagues and get to know one another. But we're just gonna move on, and I appreciate your patience. So we're gonna have a little discussion maybe for the next 15 minutes or so, and I'm gonna take notes on what you share. So feel free to come off of mute. I'm not gonna call people's names. It's really hard for me to see everybody with the screen
Amelia's trying
share.
to get someone's attention.
Oh, okay. Do I need to spotlight anybody?
No, it's a little messy, but we're going to take care of the spotlighting.
Okay. All right. So I do want to have a little bit of discussion about what's important to folks who are here about what's important to you. And so we're going to start with a question about what your special education training experience in SFUSD has been like. This is not an evaluative conversation. It's just notes for my sake. And if I have any follow-up questions, I may reach out to you. So feel free to converse. Please don't wait for me or for anyone else to call on you. Just go ahead and share what your experience in SFUSD has been like.
Outside of just learning by doing, I've gotten the safety care training, which we need to have for our site because we work with young adults with intellectual disabilities, and there are occasional students have behavioral problems. And then also the Paraeducator Institute has been really good, and also Digital District Day for that matter, for giving me a lot of handy information about everything from how to use AAC devices effectively with students, or how to incorporate technology into what they do. And then also in the Para Institute, where we concentrate a lot more on everything from emotional issues, behavioral issues, teaching techniques, things like that.
You'd like it cold.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that, Daniel. Is there anyone else who wants to share what their training experience has been like in SFUSD?
Yeah.
Hi. I kind of fell into this. My kids went to school.
Can you share your name?
Oh, I'm Paris Rauhoff.
Thanks.
And yeah, I kind of fell into it. My kids went to the school where I work, and I went to volunteer, after COVID, and kind of they hired me as a noon monitor, and then and then it was like, you want to get into the para program, and I didn't really know what I was getting into, but I was looking for work, and it I knew a lot of the teachers from my volunteering. Yeah, I was surprised at how little training there was involved, actually, and also just concerned about the number of people that were available. It just seems like maybe there could be efforts to bring people in who have special education experience, because I don't have any special education experience. And I like I say, I took it because I was there and they really needed somebody. Yeah, I feel like for people who are kind of drawn to this kind of work, that it would be really nice to have more training available, and also there's some way to attract people who specialize in it, because sometimes I feel undertrained. I'm doing the best I can, but I feel like there's so much to know about the needs of these kids that I'm not an expert in. So sometimes I feel like they deserve an expert.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing that.
And I'm Elliot. I am at Tenderloin Elementary. I'm in the SOAR program. And I do think that that's a really important distinction because I know that in like the Para Educator Institute last year, there was so much really helpful information for dealing with kids who have like autism or like just generally need like help with like speech and like executive dysfunction. But I know speaking for myself, I did not get enough training for how to deal with like intense, frankly, severe like behavioral and emotional like health issues. And I'm thankful that this year there seems to be an actual, like a more concerted effort to have like a dedicated SOAR training on Monday, but I really do wish that there was just a lot more discussion in like the special education team that was really focused on the specific issues that you see in the SOAR program.
Great, thank you so much. Any last comments before we move on to the next question, or any responses to the three folks who shared?
Yeah, you wanted to say that I echo Elliot and Paris's comment. I think there was a discussion among the teachers themselves that they needed paras that are a little bit more trained and qualified, and but the money wasn't there as well. And I myself, for one, I would appreciate a lot more training. I do the best I can, and I've gone and worked on the feedback that the teachers and principals gave me, and I go on that and learn and implement as much as I know to do and to help out. But I know at the end of the day, I could have done more. I know I could have done more and more effective techniques, which they don't really train you on. They just expect you kind of know it in one sense. But if there's a training outside of the classroom, specifically for paras and for them to bring out different situations and different scenarios, that we can help each other and also, go over some techniques and strategies that we can implement in the classroom.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next question.
I do have one more comment or question.
Okay.
Regarding the first one, which is what's your special ed training experience in SWC? And I'm kind of hearing paraprofessionals, expressing they wish there was more training. And I would echo that. I think as a resource teacher, I'm a resource teacher, and I've been a special ed teacher for about 20 years. I would like to see more training for myself as a special ed teacher. There's a lot of new information coming out. I do feel disrespected by the district. I think there's a huge disrespect for the special ed teachers in the classroom and RSP, because I know we have our school psychologists that go to monthly meetings. We have our social workers that go to monthly meetings. We have our principals in administrations that go to monthly meetings, and our speech pathologists that go to monthly meetings to get input and to get more up-to-date information about law and process. And yet that's not given to us as special ed teachers. And then that kind of trickles down to paraprofessionals, whereas special ed teachers, we really can't train our paraprofessionals because we are doing 1,000,001 things. So I might not be somebody with, working with some of the paraprofessionals here, but I do want to apologize, and I understand that. The other thing I'd want to talk about is also general ed teachers. We are having an increased number of kids going into the general ed classroom, and a lot of general ed teachers are really feeling kind of frustrated. I think I heard somebody say that. How can I support the students and neurodiverse students? Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. We are going to move on to the next question. I appreciate your feedback, Maria, but we are going to move back on to the next question right now. For this question, I'm curious to hear a little bit more about what's most important to you as a special educator when it comes to your own professional development. Like, what specific things would you like to see? What specific resources would you like to see?
I'd like to have more training in how to interact with students but less of an emphasis on what I would call top down. In other words, and I like to think of myself as a reasonable adult, and and I find that as a paraeducator, and this happens with paras, we're not so much we're micromanaged, but there's a lot of scrutiny for our behavior and how it might affect students because they're supposed to be learning from us, which I understand. But I think important discussions of etiquette are good, because when we can agree upon what it is we're going for, and also it's important to have the proper vocabulary of etiquette. So we have a respectful discussion among staff, and we don't have a disciplinary sort of air about things. And we should never really have a situation where paras are disciplined alongside students and things that doesn't work. We want to make sure that the students have an impression of the whole educational team as being on the same page. We can, as adults, we can have our disagreements and stuff, but if we know what's expected of us and we have agreements about how we can evoke from students the best behavior, I think that's a good thing. But I think sometimes we all come from we come from all over the country and the world here. And so sometimes it's a good idea to have some discussions about what it is that we expect from each other, but also maintaining a respectful tone and acknowledging that maybe we might do something differently than where someone came from, but that they're not necessarily a bad person or wrong because that's the first thing they thought to do because that's what they grew up with. Makes sense. So.
Thank you for sharing that. Let's hear from some other folks. What are some specific trainings or resources you would like to have access to? You know, in a perfect world, what would you like to see available to you at any time?
I think that it's great that you have like all the tools and things that are needed for like the Spire program in the Drive. That's been really helpful for me. The thing that I think has been lacking in that in general is that we get a lot of information how and like a basic training on how to use the curriculum, but we never really get any coaching on, are we doing it correctly? How could we do it better? What's the best way to group your kids? I mean, things like that are more practical. And
thank you so much. That is helpful.
Also, I wanted to know, you know, just even the basic expectations. You know, I did not know that I could not look at the IEP. That's completely confidential. I'm not allowed to talk to the parents, you know, but I learned on the job. But if expectations are also kind of bulleted or let me know ahead of time, I know specifically how to operate. I would know how to do my job, I guess, more appropriately. I mean, I just sort of partner with the education team, thinking I can do certain things when I'm not allowed to, but it wasn't told me beforehand. It wasn't, the expectations were not, you know, spelled out per se. And in addition to that, you know, specifically, if I had any questions to the specialist or that I can actually, you know, have time with her, even if it's like 10 minutes a day at the beginning of the school day, to just sort of kind of debrief or if I had any questions, that would be helpful. But I think a more professional way of handling these kinds of things might be helpful. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. We have a couple more minutes before I want to give you time to complete the survey. Is there anyone else who wants to share?
I have a question. I'm sorry. My name is Randy, and I am not a special ed teacher, but I'm a TSA, and I go into the special ed room quite a bit. But I will say this. I do agree with a lot of the teachers that are on here. I have an opportunity to shadow with the teacher when I go in. And sometimes it's 1 or 2 times a month, but I noticed that the paras and other individuals in there, they're reprimanded for what they do, but if they'd have some time to meet about the issues that they've had, because you get big issues right away when school starts, then everybody is on the same wavelength of how to deal with this particular kid or this behavior, if it's pottying, if it's mild severe. I have a grandson that is severe, but it has to be done together. Not wait until a para does something and then, oh, you're reprimanded and shamed in front of everyone, even the child. Not all the time, but it's happened quite a bit. I just think if they have a meeting time, because their hours are so short, it would make the world of difference.
Good
I
feedback.
wanted to
Thank
add
you.
something. Hi, I wanted to add something really quick. My name is Yvette Nelson Hernandez. I am a para and I've been with the district for 14 years. I'm also a PLN member. This year for the Para Institute, I did create a Para Roles and Responsibilities PD that I'll be performing tomorrow and Friday. And I've added examples. I've used my principal's expectations for our site and added examples of what those expectations may look like. So I'm hoping that it'll be helpful for the pairs that are out there. And then for the teachers and school staff that are out there, if you guys want to, if you guys have the extended hours possible, you can even email me or Nora and see if I could even do the PD just for your site. So again, my name is Yvette Nelson Hernandez, and I will be doing a PD on para roles and responsibilities tomorrow and Friday. If you want it for sites, I'm willing to do it for sites on those early Wednesdays. Thank you.
Thanks so much for offering that, Yvette. All right, so that wraps up our discussion portion of this session. I'm actually there's 107 folks here. So anyone who is an SFUSD employee, I'm gonna ask you to fill out this form and share additional feedback with me. A lot of it is what you already know, what you don't know, etc. So that we can try to offer resources, not necessarily more time. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of control over that, but I do have control over what will go in a resource page. So I'd really like to hear more about what you know and what you don't know so that we can identify resources that will help you do your job better. In a what did we say during COVID? Oh my gosh, what was it called when we would all sign in at the same time, or when kids would take work home and do it on their own time? Asynchronous, yes. So yeah, so I want to be able to build something where we have asynchronous resources available. I'd love it if you stayed for the next 4 minutes to complete this. That way I know you're actually filling it out. And I don't have to go chase people down and beg them to fill it out later.
Can you put it in the chat, please?
I can.
Yeah, I already got mine ready to go with the proper thing picked. I can just type in my answers here.
I just clicked on your link in the chat and it says you need permission. This form can only be viewed by users in the owner's organization.
Yeah, you have to be logged into your SFUSD account.
It's funny, I believe I am. That's why I'm in here, but let's. Okay, and I can't click and we can't click on your bit.ly.
Yeah, you can't click on the bit.ly, but it's a shorter URL, so you can maybe type it in. And if you have your phone with you and you like to use that, you can take a picture or you can use your camera to scan the QR code. And you can access the form
I'll
that
do
way.
that. I like keeping my personal stuff and the school stuff separate. So, but fair enough. That's
Here, let me put
I write in the survey.
Oops. Let me put the bit.ly into the chat so it's easier to type in. You can just copy and paste it.
Super. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. I saw Miss Abrams just asked if I could put the link in the chat. There are 2 links in the chat now.
Hey, Joanna, it's Stephanie.
Oh, hey, Stephanie.
Hey, McCall, you don't have any of the county schools on here.
Oh, that was an oversight. Is there a spot for other?
Let me see. Maybe I didn't see it.
I didn't see it either.
Okay, let me fix that right now. I just stopped sharing and I'll add you guys.
All right, sounds cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't find my school either, Ida B. Wells High School.
Ida B. Wells is in there. Should be in there. If not, let me put
I didn't find mine either.
other.
Martin Luther King Middle School.
All right, let me add the other. So give me 2 seconds. I apologize for that. Other, and then let me add another question.
Are you typing the feedback into the?
So for those of you whose school wasn't listed, go ahead and refresh the form that you're filling out, and there should be an option for other and a box where you can type in the name of your school.
Oh, sorry, Adrienne, I don't see the link in the chat at all.
So it's in there twice. Can you scroll? Did you just join, or let me add it again?
I was booted out for some reason.
Oh, got it. So you lost the chat. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Let me post that for everybody.
When you're asking if scheduling an IEP or any type of meeting is a problem, what do you mean by the scheduling part? Do you mean like having the time to actually get on the phone with someone to do it? The coordinating of people? What do you mean by that?
I'm going to let you interpret that however you would like to interpret it. That might mean different things to different people. And I'm just trying to get like a general pulse of whether or not folks are scheduling their IEPs on time.
Okay.
So, if it's a matter of getting on the phone for one person or a matter of being disorganized for another, that piece isn't so important to me. I'm just trying to kind of get a feel for how people address this.
Okay, yeah, I'm not able to get into the Google. Is it a Google form that is there?
It's a Google form, yeah.
Okay.
So I just chose central office for my school because I work in an access program and those aren't listed.
Okay, that was a total oversight on my part. If you refresh the form, you should be able to see an other option.
Oh.
And Roxanne said the form is only for teachers. It's not only for teachers, it's definitely for other folks. If something doesn't apply to you, you can say NA. The other thing I wanted to point out is that Zareen Levian just pointed out that the next session starts right now. So if you need to go to another session, please finish this form on your own time if you're able. The required questions should take about 5 minutes max. Feel free to head to your next session. Thank you so much.
Adriana, I am a first-time employee with SFUSD and performing in this role. And your two questions about time in education and in the role start from year one, and some of us are zeros. So just
you can choose one.
I did, but it's not accurate for your data.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Someone asked what a wet signature is in the chat. A wet signature is a piece of paper that someone signs in ink.
Learn something new every day.
Yeah, we use an electronic signature package now, so.
Hello, my name is Cecilia Martin, and the form, it doesn't let me submit it because I also work in an access program. So it doesn't.
Do you have
appear
an
like
SFUSD email address?
Yes.
So you need to log into your SFUSD email address in order to fill this out and
Okay,
submit it.
so
Yeah.
So how can I do it? So I have to lead this now, the page right now.
Yeah, Cecilia, if you bring the form up for school, just choose other, then you can type in access.
Oh, okay, so I need to log it into my Unified School District email.
She was saying she's not able
to
to
log into that, and on the same browser when you open up the form, then you'll be okay.
Okay, I'll try.
What
is it? Take care, Brett.
All right, great. Thank you, guys.
In the chat. What is this? What do you mean when you say I prefer creating lessons and teaching to IEP development? Do you mean like, do you enjoy teaching over creating the IEP?
I'm asking if you prefer teaching to the IEP process.
Oh, the IEP process is a pain in the butt.
Well, that's one opinion.
But you get used to it.
Hmm.
I'm just not sure, like, it's the job, so how does one have a preference? It's the job.
I mean, I can answer that from a compliance perspective. I shouldn't say we, I have experienced working with colleagues both here and in other districts where a colleague says, well, if my legal obligation is to complete the IEP, I don't have enough time in my contract hours, so I'm not going to do any lesson planning. So that's an example of what people prioritize or what they prefer to do.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not get involved in IEP meeting whatsoever. Questions are more likely to ask teachers, not for parents. I don't
So
see
there should be
I don't see anything is connected with it for my job, and it's a requirement. So if I don't answer it, I cannot go to the next page. What should I do?
So which question are you talking about?
When you follow the rule, every questions pre-meeting.
Yeah, so if it's not
They all
applicable,
have, during the meeting, after the meeting, they all have IEP. I don't get
So-
involved in any IEP whatsoever. But
So
its
if you
requirement is it has a red star in it.
Right. And so if it's not applicable to you, you can select the center dot and it says not applicable.
Could you repeat that one more time, please?
Let me share my screen real quick. Hang
Okay.
on. So I had to pretend to fill this out in order to get to the second page. But if you see here, this middle column, it says scheduling an IEP prior to its due date. Not applicable, does not apply.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, so the IEPs, they're not available for me to see.
Yep. So it sounds like a not applicable question for you.
If you are a retired teacher, do you answer it, a retired sped ed teacher, do you answer it as if you were still working or? Now?
Well, you should answer based on your current role.
Okay.
Suppose if you don't know the answer to the question.
You can put not applicable.
That's not a choice for this question.
Is it a required question?
It says IEPs can only be affirmed after the parent has signed.
Okay, and that's a yes or no question.
Yes.
So if you don't have an answer to that, you can just choose one. It won't affect the data that much. It's not for a scientific journal, it's just for general survey purposes.
Oh, okay.
And if you're done with the survey, feel free to drop off and you can either go to your next session or do whatever it is you need to do for the rest of your day. All right, folks, I'm going to ask that you go ahead and do your best to finish the survey if you're still working on it. I'm going to go ahead and close the Zoom meeting. Any last questions before I close the meeting? All right, thank you so much. Have a good evening.